Well, in case if you're wondering if I forgot to do Calgary Flames game recaps, well, I didn't. It just took so long for Calgary Flames to actually play 6 games. I think you already know, but you'll know what I mean as it's time for another episode of... Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and finally, welcome back to another episode of my Calgary Flames in 6. This is Season 4, episode number 6, as we'll recap games 25 to 30 in the 2021-22 NHL regular season. But the trick with this episode was it took so long for the Calgary Flames to finally play 6 more games. As the purposes for this episode, we'll go over their previous 6 games that they played, and then we'll list 10 games that got postponed that I've already made several videos on before, again, to my usual other business. I guess the Stockton Heat quick hits won't be as quick in this episode as I capture all the Stockton Heat games in when the Calgary Flames have their games in for each episode. So before I get into recapping the games, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home of the Flames Hitmen Roughnecks Stampeders, just make sure you hit like and subscribe, as I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my channel, where I recap games and stories, and definitely have made several videos on stories on why the Calgary Flames haven't been playing games much this past month. But I've also do a variety of non-sports content when I've had time, which that's the key words, when I've had time, with personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and I also do share my experience them on the road or sporting event. And I have some blogging to go on this channel, so if that all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, you know what you do, just to make sure you like, subscribe. I have my other social links down in the description below, and I have my second channel in Brett Hornby Shorts, where I exclusively put my short form content on there, so I appreciate like, subscribe both here on my main channel as well as my second channel, and as well as speaking in the description below, I do put timestamps in there if you want to jump to any particular game or any other segments in the video that I get to as well. So before I bring out my, I'm going to say notes, but I have figured out that I'm going to not make as many notes, as it's very, very time consuming. So I think that I tried to streamline the process a little more, which I did start that with my Calgary Roughnecks this month, last episode I made. So let's go all the way back to game 25. This was back on Sunday, December the 5th. As the Calgary Flames were on the road, as they were taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. This was at the T-Mobile Arena, 8 p.m. puck drop, and the Calgary Flames, as you know, they have still yet to win a game at the T-Mobile Center since the Vegas Golden Knights joined the league. Well, will this be the first time that the Calgary Flames won a game in this one? Well, if you go back to the first period of this game, the only goal that happened in this game went to the Vegas Golden Knights, as it was Max Pacioretty who scored his 6th of the season. This happened after the 17-minute mark, so Vegas had a 1-0 lead, and that's how things stood after the first period, with Vegas up 1-0. There were no goals to report in the second period, but I would say for how teams looked on both sides in the first 2 periods, it looked evenly matched, as this has definitely been a big divisional rival game for Calgary and Vegas, being that they're both in the Pacific Division. Vegas has recently been picking up their play after a slow start, so it was 1-0 Vegas after the second period. So if we go into the third period, Vegas took a 2-0 lead, as it was Nicholas Waugh who scored his 4th of the season. This was at the 1:49-minute mark. So now Vegas was up 2-0. However, the Calgary Flames finally were able to find themselves on the board, as it was Elias Lindholm who scored his 11th of the season at 9:19 to make it a 2-1 game for Vegas. However, shortly after that, the Vegas Golden Knights regained their 2-goal lead, as it was Evgeny Dadonov who scored his 7th of the season at 10:45 to make it 3-1 for Vegas. However, the Calgary Flames definitely did not quit in this game and actually got within one, as it was Andrew Mangiapane. He likes to score on the road, as this was his 17th of the season, to make it 3-2 for Vegas at the 17-19 minute mark. However, after pulling the goalie, there was no success, as the Calgary Flames lost this one 3-2, so it continues that the Calgary Flames have not been able to win on the road in Vegas. So there was no multi-point goal scorer for the Calgary Flames. Neither, or actually it was Nicholas Waugh was the only multi-point player on the ice for the Vegas Golden Knights with a goal and assist. So when it comes to the shots on goal for this game, it was Vegas who outshot the Calgary Flames 28-25 in this one. So when it comes to the goaltending story game, it was Jacob Markstrom who made 25 saves for Calgary, while on the Vegas Golden Knights, it was Robin Lehner who made 23 saves for the Vegas Golden Knights. So that was game 25 for the Calgary Flames and the Vegas Golden Knights. So game 26, the Calgary Flames stayed on the Pacific Coast, as this was on Tuesday, December the 7th. As the Calgary Flames, they were on the road taking on the San Jose Sharks. This was an 8:30 puck drop at the SAP Center, or also known as past my bedtime o'clock, for these very, very late games. And this was Calgary wrapping up their 4-game road trip at that time, taking on the Pacific Division rivals. If you remember, they won their first 2 games in Los Angeles and Anaheim, but now this was just to try to salvage the 4-game road trip. So how did things go for the Calgary Flames in San Jose? Well, the Calgary Flames definitely outplayed the San Jose Sharks in this one for much of the game, but ultimately it goes back to what is on the scoreboard. Well, the Calgary Flames actually scored first and early in this one, as Dylan Dubé, he scored his 3rd of the season at the 1:37 minute mark. So Calgary had an early 1-0 lead at that point. However, San Jose did claw back, or bite their way back, I should say, in the first period. It was Thomas Hertl who got his 10th of the season on a power play just before the 9-minute mark. So we had a 1-1 game at that point in the first period. However, Johnny Gaudreau put Calgary back up in front, 2-1 on his 10th of the season just before the 12-minute mark. So Calgary had a 2-1 lead, and that's how things stood after the first period. Second period, well, a recent call-up that the Calgary Flames made from the Stockton Heat, who at the time was leading the team in scoring, Adam Ruzicka. Well, Adam Ruzicka actually did score his first NHL goal at the 4:31 minute mark of the second period. So now Calgary actually at this point led 3-1. So things were looking good for the Calgary Flames to finish up their 4-game road trip in San Jose. Or the Sharks definitely had other plans, as San Jose started to rally and come back in this one, as at the 10:08 mark of the second period, it was Erik Karlsson who scored his 7th of the season to make it a 3-2 Calgary game at that point, roughly middle of the game. Then it was Logan Couture who also scored a power play goal to tie up the game for 3-3 at the 14:27 minute mark. So now it's 3-3. And then Thomas Hertl again got his 2nd of the game, which was his 11th of the season, late in the second period at 18:10. So now, after Calgary taking a 3-1 lead early in the second period, now the San Jose Sharks found themselves up 4-3 after the second period, and that's how things stood after the second period. And then the third period, things just stayed tentative the whole way through, until ultimately it was Thomas Hertl who got the hat-trick, his 3rd of the game, his 12th of the season. However, it was in the empty net at 19:18. So ultimately, the San Jose Sharks, they were stingy, acting just like a shark, and attacked in the second period and won this one 5-3. So the Calgary Flames ultimately went 2-2 on this Pacific road trip. The shots on goal, well, Calgary outshot the San Jose Sharks 43-27 in this one, but ultimately matters what it said on the scoreboard, including the Calgary Flames trying to have a rally in the third period. So when it comes to who led the way for the Calgary Flames, there was no one who had a multi-point game for the Calgary Flames, while the San Jose Sharks, well, it was definitely Thomas Hertl who had the 3 goals for the hat-trick. He also got a 3-point game out of Logan Couture with a goal and 2 assists. And then you had 2 players with 2 assists in Brent Burns and Alexander Barbasov with 2 assists each. So now it comes to the goaltending story of this game. Well, it was Dan Vladar who actually started in net for Calgary. He lost this one as he made 22 saves for Calgary. Well, for San Jose, it was Adin Hill who was in net. Definitely was the better goalie, who made 40 saves in this one. So that is what happened in game 26, as the Calgary Flames lost that one 5-3. So game 27, this happened on Thursday, December the 9th, as the Calgary Flames went back home with a big test as they were hosting the Carolina Hurricanes. That was a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome. So how did the Calgary Flames do against the, if they still call themselves, the bunch of jerks? Well, in the first period, Carolina got up early, as it was Sebastian Aho who scored his 12th of the season at the 4:14 minute mark. So Carolina took an early 1-0 lead, and that was the only goal of the game in the first period. So Carolina took a 1-0 lead going into the second period. In this game, I felt both teams looked evenly played, which is a good sign considering the Calgary Flames have up to this point been one of the top teams in the league. So going into the second period, the Calgary Flames actually did tie it up, as it was the former Hurricane in Noah Hannafin who got his second of the season at the 7:23 minute mark, and that was the only goal in the second period. So we had a 1-1 game going into the third period. Third period, there was no scoring to report, so as I would like to say, this one needs overtime. In overtime, the Carolina Hurricanes had a few more chances in this one, and ultimately it was the Carolina Hurricanes that scored the game winner, as it was Sebastian Aho who got his second of the game and the goal in overtime for his 13th of the season at 4:07. So ultimately the Calgary Flames were on the wrong end of this one, but they did pick up a hard-earned point against the Carolina Hurricanes, as they lost this one 2-1 in overtime. And there was definitely quite a few penalties. There was a few delay of game penalties, but nothing, no fights in that stood out. But it was a hard-fought game, I would say, for both sides, considering the strength of the competition. Calgary had the slight edge in shots, 27-26, but Carolina had the edge in 4-2 in overtime. So obviously it was Sebastian Aho who led the way in this one with the 2 goals. So the goaltending star of the game was Jacob Markstrom, who made 24 saves for Calgary, while it was Freddie Anderson, who made 26 saves for the Carolina Hurricanes. So that was the comeback home for the Calgary Flames. Was a loss, but it was a tough one against the Carolina Hurricanes. So game 28, this happened on Saturday, December 11th on Hockey Night in Canada, as the Calgary Flames had a quick 2-game homestand as they hosted the Boston Bruins. This was an 8 p.m. puck drop on the Scotiabank Saddledome. So how did the Calgary Flames fare against the Boston Bruins? So once again, the Calgary Flames definitely outplayed the Boston Bruins, had a few more shots in this one, but I'll say it again, ultimately happens what's it said on the scoreboard. Well, it wasn't until late in the first period, as it was Connor Clifton who scored his first of the season for the Boston Bruins. This didn't happen until the 17:43 minute mark. So Boston took a 1-0 lead, and that was the only goal in the first period. So Boston had a 1-0 lead after the first period. So going into the second period, there was a few more goals. Boston definitely continued to press ahead. as it was Brad Marchand, everybody's favorite player, who got his 11th of the season at the 5:52-minute mark. So Boston now took a 2-0 lead at that point, and then just under a minute later, Charlie McAvoy, who got his 4th of the season at 6:48. So now Boston found themselves up 3-0 at this point in the game. However, Matthew Tkachuk, he got Calgary on the board on a power play goal. This was at 12:19, so now Calgary made it 3-1 at that point, and that was all the scoring that was in the second period. So Boston took a 3-1 lead going into the third period. Then going into the third period, it was more of the same in terms of Boston getting timely goals, as the Boston Bruins scored early just before the 3-minute mark. His second of the season went to Curtis Lazar. So Boston now took a 4-1 lead. However, Calgary did get within 2 as Sean Monahan got his 4th of the season at the 18:24-minute mark on a deflection. However, ultimately it was too little too late in this one, as actually ultimately the Boston Bruins, they won this one 4-2, as Boston definitely had their timely goals, but the Calgary Flames did outshoot the Boston Bruins 42-27. So at this point, the Calgary Flames have lost 4 straight, but at least the one that they lost against the Carolina Hurricanes was in overtime. This was, I recall, was a little frustrating to watch for this one. But this split the season series as the Calgary Flames shut out the Boston Bruins in Boston on November 21st of the 4-0 victory. So unless we play them in the Stanley Cup Finals, we're not going to play the Boston Bruins again. So who led the way for the Calgary Flames? Well, Rasmus Sanderson was the only one that had a multi-point game with the 2 assists. And then when it comes to the Boston Bruins, British Bergeron and there was Trent Frederick, each had 2 assists, so those are the 2 multi-point goal scorer point getters for the Boston Bruins. So when it comes to the goaltending story of this game, well, Jacob Markstrom made 23 saves for the Calgary Flames. Well, it was Linus Ullmark who made 40 saves for the Boston Bruins, so definitely got out goaltended in that one. And then that was it for the game number 28. Now we'll get into why game 28-29 had a nice long gap. But the next game that the Calgary Flames didn't play wasn't until Thursday, December 30th, as the Calgary Flames, they made their first ever trip to the Climate Pledge Center in Seattle to take on the Seattle Kraken. As I already made several videos that the Calgary Flames got hit with a COVID outbreak, which definitely was the reason why they went 18 days without playing a game. And we'll list the postponed games once I've done the recaps. But how did the Calgary Flames do for the first ever trip against the Seattle Kraken in Seattle? Well, considering the Calgary Flames were sick and shut down, I'm going to say they did start off a little rusty. But I'm going to say they definitely bounced back and got timely goals late in the game. So going into the first period, well, this is also the first time that the Calgary Flames got to see Mark Giordano in action for the first time in the regular season. Well, in the first period, well, of course, Mark Giordano had to score for the Seattle Kraken, as strange as that sounds, as he got his 4th of the season. This was at the 5:48-minute mark. So Seattle struck first with a first goal. However, Calgary was able to tie it up as Johnny Gaudreau got his 11th of the season at 9:46 to make it 1-1. And that's how things stood after the first period, as the Flames and Kraken had a 1-1 tie going into the second period. I just felt that Calgary, understandably, after not playing for almost 3 weeks, they looked a little rusty, but I felt they found their game going into the second period. However, going into the second period, as Seattle had a late power play going into the second period, it was basically right on the opening face-off, as the Kraken won the face-off. Ultimately, it was Calle Jarnkrok who got the power play goal on a bounce, barely 9 seconds into the second period. So Seattle regained the lead with a 2-1 lead into the second period on that opening face-off, because it was 9 seconds in. However, shortly after that, Johnny Gaudreau got his 2nd of the game his 12th season on a power play of his own at 3:54 to tie up the game at 2-2. And then much later into the second period, well, Milan Lucic scored his 8th of the season and actually has scored a goal, at least one goal against all 32 teams now at the just before the 15-minute mark, as now Calgary had a 3-2 lead, their first lead of the game. And that's how things stood after the second period, with the Calgary Flames up 3-2. Third period, there definitely was a lot of offense in this one. Definitely a lot of swing changes, but I think the Calgary Flames did their best to weather through the storm and ultimately came through this one. Well, the Seattle Kraken, they tied it up just before the 5-minute mark. It was Yanni Gourde who got his 8th of the season to make it a 3-3 game. And then the game remained 3-3 going into the final minutes of the third period. Both teams looking to have their chances to try to get to take the lead. However, it was Calgary that ultimately got another power play late in the third period, as it was Andrew Mangiapane. We need to tell, whenever we play at home again, we need to tell Andrew Mangiapane that we're on the road, as he got his 18th of the season. Well, 17 of those 18 goals were on the road, as it was at the 16:51-minute mark. Calgary took a 4-3 lead. However, just after we were celebrating that goal, it was Jared McCann who scored to tie up the game for the Seattle Kraken at 17:21 to make it a 4-4 game. However, shortly after the Jared McCann goal, Matthew Tkachuk scored to on a nice pass or shot through the 5-hole. If I remember, that's 17:34. So now Calgary took a 5-4 lead. There was definitely a lot of offense to wrap this game up. And then with the goalie pulled, Calgary had a few chances to put it away in the empty net. They were trying to feed it to Johnny to give him the hat trick, but ultimately it was Noah Hannafin that put it away in the empty net at 19:40. So Calgary ultimately won, I'd say, a fairly wild game, 6-4 in this one to win their first ever game in Seattle at the Climate Pledge Arena, and also won their first game against Mark Giordano after being plucked in the expansive draft. But Seattle definitely did put up a good fight in this one. So when it comes to the shots in this one, well, the Calgary Flames outshot the Seattle Kraken 40-22 in this one. As I would felt after the first period, the Calgary Flames found the legs, considering what the Flames went through. So leading the way for the Calgary Flames, obviously, was Johnny Gaudreau with the 2 goals and 1 assist. Matthew Tkachuk also had a good game. He's got a goal and 2 assists for 3 points, including that game winner, which came at the right time. And then Noah Hannafin had a goal and assist for 2 points. Leading away for the Kraken, well, Mark Giordano, he was definitely, probably say, a little extra fired up to play against his former team. He had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points, as well as Kelly Youngcourt. He had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. Jerry McCann had a goal and assist for 2 points, and then there was Colin Blackwell, who had 2 assists to the Seattle Kraken. So there were a lot of multi-point games to go around. And then when it comes to the goaltending story of this game, well, Jacob Markstrom, he looked a little shaky in this one, but made the saves when it mattered. He made 18 saves for Calgary. Well, for the Seattle Kraken, it was former Hitman, Chris Drieger, who was in net. He made 34 saves for the Kraken. So that's how Calgary wrapped up 2021 with a win against the Seattle Kraken. So now game 30 for the last episode for the 6 games was the first game in 2021 is on Sunday, January 2nd. The Calgary Flames were taking on the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago. This was a 5 p.m. puck drop at the United Center. I don't think if I said it was an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Climate Pledge Arena for the game before. As I'm going to say, the Calgary Flames in this one, looking at this game, I'm going to say definitely had a much better effort overall, especially in the second period. However, it was Alex DeBrincat who scored the first goal in this game for Chicago, his 18th of the season, at the 9:41-minute mark. So Chicago took a 1-0 lead at this point. However, Matthew Tkachuk definitely tied it up for the Calgary Flames as he scored his 14th of the season at 13-13. So Calgary tied up the game at 1-1 at that point, and that's actually how things stood after the first period, as the Chicago Blackhawks and the Calgary Flames had a 1-1 lead. Now going into the second period, the Calgary Flames definitely did take over this game, had some power play time as well, as Elias Lindholm who did score on the power play, his 12th of the season, just after the 9-minute mark. So Calgary took a 2-1 lead at that point. And then while shorthanded, the Calgary Flames definitely were doing a great job in the penalty kill and ultimately had the puck in the Chicago end. And it was Blake Coleman. He actually set up Trevor Lewis on a nice beauty or a shorthanded goal at the 17:46-minute mark in the second period. So Calgary took a 3-1 lead at this point, and that's how things stood after the second period. The other thing to note here is that the Calgary Flames, they took 26 shots in the second period, which tied a franchise record for most shots in the period. When I think I saw in the sports today, it was mentioned it was back in 1986, so some history there, we should say. So going into the third period, well, things definitely looked very tentative from both sides, as there weren't any scoring until late in the third period, where in Chicago still down 3-1 late in the third period, pulled the goalie, and ultimately it was Oliver Shillington who actually put it away in the empty net from the Calgary's own blue line, as he got his 4th of the season at the 18:05. So that almost put it away for the Calgary Flames as they took a 4-1 lead. And then Johnny Gaudreau, he scored a nice beauty going into the Chicago end, ripped it over the shoulder of the goalie for his 13th of the season at 18:34. So ultimately, the Calgary Flames, they took this one 5-1 in Chicago and took advantage of the opponent, because when we look ahead, the 4-game road trip that the Calgary Flames are on right now, this will not get any easier, as the Calgary Flames, as they won this one 5-1, as the Calgary Flames outshot the Chicago Blackhawks. Well, when you take 26 shots in the second period, that helps, as they outshot Chicago 42-31 in this one. I mean, Chicago, I felt, had a good start at the game, but then afterwards, Calgary found their game. So leading the way for the Calgary Flames, well, Johnny Gaudreau once again had a good game. We need to sign him. I'm just putting it out there. With a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. Matthew Tkachuk, another player we're definitely going to have to sign long-term after this season, had a goal and assist for 2 points. So those are the 2 players that had the multi-point games for the Calgary Flames. So then when it comes to the goaltending story of this game, well, Jacob Markstrom, he definitely looked much better for the Calgary Flames than he did against the Seattle Kraken, as he made 30 saves in the win. Now for the Chicago Blackhawks, actually making his first start, I'm going to say he looked alright considering it was his first start. Marc-Andre Fleury, I understand, was in COVID protocol, then he was backing up, and it was Arvid Stollerblom who scored, or started in net for Chicago in this one, made 37 saves for the Chicago Blackhawks, so definitely didn't bring him in gently in that one. So that's where the Calgary Flames are at after 30 games. However, why the long time between games is, well, let's list off all the postponed games. Well, after the Boston Bruins game, when we played on Saturday, December the 11th, that's when the COVID outbreak started with the Calgary Flames. So ultimately, it was basically almost the whole team, with the exception, I think it was Matthew Tkachuk, ultimately was the only Flame that didn't get sick. I didn't hear officially that Blake Coleman, but the Calgary Flames had 50 cases of COVID within the team, with the staff member and family members. So the postponed games, well, Calgary has 10 games postponed, and ultimately I think those games are going to have to get caught up in February, because they decided the NHL is not going to the Olympics. So the first game was on Monday, December 13th. The Calgary Flames, they were scheduled to go to Chicago, and that's when the outbreak happened, and eventually the league shut the Calgary Flames down. That would have been a 5:30 puck drop at the United Center, which also postponed the second game. That would have been on Tuesday, December 14th, as the Calgary Flames, they were scheduled to play the Nashville Predators, and that was would have been a 6 p.m. puck drop at the Bridgestone Arena. And then Game 3 also got postponed on Thursday, December 16th, as the Calgary Flames would have hosted the Toronto Maple Leafs. That would have been a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome. And then that would have postponed Game 4, Saturday, December 18th, as the Calgary Flames would have hosted the Columbus Blue Jackets. That would have been an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome, but that didn't happen. And then on Game 5, that got postponed. was on Tuesday, December the 21st, as the Calgary Flames would have hosted the Anaheim Ducks. That would have been a 7 p.m. puck drop at Scotiabank Saddledome, and a couple games I did possibly look at going, which obviously didn't happen. Game 6, this was originally scheduled on Thursday, December 23rd. The Calgary Flames would have hosted the Seattle Kraken. That would be a 7 p.m. puck drop at Scotiabank Saddledome. First time to see the Kraken in town, and Mark Giordano making his return in the regular season at the Scotiabank Saddledome, but that didn't happen. And then Game 7 would have been on Monday, December 27th. We would have had that anticipated Bell, Alberta against the Edmonton Oilers. That would have been an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome. That was postponed. And then Game 8 on Friday, December the 31st. The Calgary Flames would have had the Winnipeg Jets in town on New Year's Eve. That would have been a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome. So that was also postponed. And then the two more games that got postponed for the Calgary Flames that, we'll mention it now, that has been rescheduled. The 9th game will be on Tuesday, January 11th. The Calgary Flames would have been hosting the New York Islanders. That would have been a 7 p.m. puck drop at Scotiabank Saddledome. And then the 10th game. So the league has already postponed over 90 games, but 10 of them are Calgary Flames games. Saturday, January 15th, the Calgary Flames would have been hosting the Vegas Golden Knights. That would have been an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome, but that has been postponed. So I'm going to say the first 7 games, or 6 games for sure, was due to the outbreak leading up to Christmas, and then the league expanded the holiday break, and then the last 3-4 games that have been postponed was because the league postponed it, and that's now due to the attendance restrictions. So yeah, there was definitely a lot more games postponed. So if there weren't any games postponed, there would have been 2 games, episodes, I would say, for my Calgary Flames in 6. So let's take a look at quickly the stats and standings before we look at other business. I'm just going to streamline this as well, that the leading goal scorer for the Calgary Flames is Andrew Mangiapane with 18. Johnny Gaudreau is the leading assist with 23. And then the lead point scorer is Johnny Gaudreau with 36. I'm going to try to be quick on this one. And then when it comes to the standings, the Calgary Flames, after 30 games, they are 17-7-6. If you look at the points, they are 3rd in the Pacific Division. However, if the NHL don't get all 82 games in, points percentage would be the thing they'll use to weight it. That the Flames actually have the highest points percentage at .667 in the Pacific Division. However, if you look at this record even further, the Calgary Flames are 13-4-2 on the road. But with all these games postponed, and if you look at the March schedule, there's a lot more red in the schedule for a lot more home games. The Calgary Flames need to find a way to play better at home. And Andrew Mangiapane to be convinced that we're on the road when we're at home, as he likes to score on the road. And actually, Johnny Gaudreau, he also likes to score points on the road too. So that's definitely the big reason why the Calgary Flames have been playing so much better on the road at home. But eventually, they're going to have to play catch up with these games. So that's the very, very quick stats and standings. Because the next part, let's take a look at the Stockton Heat quick hits, but it won't be as quick because there were a lot of games the Stockton Heat played, so let's bring that out. So how do things are looking for the Stockton Heat, the Calgary Flames farm team? Well, things are still looking pretty good, I would say, on the farm as well. So for the Stockton Heat quick hits, there's been a bunch of games that they've played and have had a few that's been postponed as well. So the first game, well, this was a rescheduled game on Tuesday, December 7th. The Calgary Flames, the Stockton Heat, were taking on the San Jose Barracuda. This was a 7:30 puck drop at the Stockton Arena. Well, the Stockton Heat, they destroyed the San Jose Barracuda 10-1 in this one. Glenn Godwin had 3 goals and assists. Byron Fries had 3 goals. Matthew Phillips had 2 goals and assists. And Itu Taloa and Connor Zary each had a goal for the 10. Jacob Pelche had 3 assists. Dustin Wolf, he made 24 saves in the win. The next game for the Stockton Heat, this will be the game 20, Friday, December 10th. As the Stockton Heat were on the road taking on the Tucson Roadrunners. This is the Arizona Coyotes farm team. This was at the Tucson Convention Center Arena, 7 p.m. puck drop. Well, the Tucson Roadrunners, they won this one 5-4 in a shootout. Matthew Phillips and Jacob Pelche each had a goal, 2 goals and assist, and it was Adam Werner who was in net for Stockton, made 26 saves. Game 21, this was on the next night, on Saturday, December 11th. The Stockton Heat were taking on the Tucson Roadrunners again at the Tucson Convention Center Arena, 7 p.m. puck drop. Well, the Stockton Heat won that one 5-1. It was Ilya Samolov, the defenseman that we drafted. He had 2 goals and assists. Neil Pedersen and Connor Zari had a goal and assist. Martin Pospisil had 2 assists. Glenn Godwin had a goal. And then Dustin Wolf, who made 29 saves in the victory for that one. Then game 22 on Wednesday, December the 15th, as the Stockton Heat were taking on the Bakersfield Condors. At home at Stockton Arena, this is the Edmonton Oilers farm team, as it was Andy Olnowski who had a goal. Justin Kirkland and Glenn Godwin scored in the shootout, and Dustin Wolf made 30 saves in that one. Game 23, this was on Friday, December the 17th, as the Stockton Heat were taking on the Colorado Eagles, the Colorado Avalanche farm team at home. At 8 p.m. puck drop at the Stockton Arena, as the Stockton Heat, they won that one 3-2 in overtime. Ichi Taloa, Ilya Samolov, and Andy Olnowski each had a goal. Dustin Wolf made 26 saves. Then game 24 on Saturday, December 18th, the Stockton Heat were taking on the Colorado Eagles again in Stockton. 7 p.m. puck drop. Well, in this one, Stockton won that one 5-2. Walker Durer had 2 goals. Luke Phillip and Ichi Taloa had a goal and assist, and this was the teddy bear toss goal or game, as Jacob Pelche scored the teddy bear goal. Yusuf Alamaki, he had 2 assists in that one. And Dustin Wolf made 26 saves, and it was 3,022 teddy bears that were tossed in that game. So that was that one. And then the Stockton Heat, they had some games postponed, with basically when the NHL was on winter break, they postponed some AHL games. Wednesday, December 22nd, the Stockton Heat were scheduled to take on the San Diego Gulls in San Diego. 8 p.m. puck drop at the Pacheco Arena, but that got postponed. And then the second game that got postponed for the Stockton Heat, it was originally scheduled on Wednesday, December 29th. Stockton Heat would have been on the road at the San Jose Barracuda at the SPP Center. 6 p.m. puck drop, that was postponed. So the next game the Stockton Heat actually got to play was their 25th game on Friday, December 31st, as the San Jose Barracuda were taking on the Stockton Heat. The game was in Stockton. 2 p.m. puck drop, well, the San Jose Barracuda, they won that game 4-0. It was Andrew Shortridge who was in net for the Stockton Heat. Dustin Wolf, I should have mentioned, he was actually backing up Jacob Markstrom when the Calgary Flames were in Seattle, so obviously Dustin Wolf wasn't available for that one. And then game 26, this was on Sunday, January 2nd. The Stockton Heat were taking on the San Jose Barracuda again on the road at the SAP Center. This was a 2 p.m. puck drop. Stockton won that game 4-1. It was Alex Gallant, Jess Kirkwood, Luke Phillip, and Jacob Pelche each had a goal. And it was Dustin Wolf who made 33 saves in that one. And then the games that we played, the San Jose Barracuda, I didn't see Vander Kane didn't dress in any of those games. So I want to mention that. So on the farm, the Stockton Heat, they are actually one of the top teams in the American Hockey League, as they are 19-3-2-1 with 2 overtime losses and 1 shield loss for 41 points. That puts them first in the Pacific Division. So both the Flames and the Heat are still looking pretty good at this point. Leading point getters, the top 5 for the Stockton Heat. Jacob Pelche after 25 games. He has 11 goals, 17 assists for 28 points. Glenn Godwin, after 22 games, he has 9 goals, 15 assists for 24 points. Matthew Phillips is third in scoring after 22 games. 9 goals, 14 assists for 22 points. And Adam Ruzicka, I think he's still around up with the team, but as an extra forward, in 13 games he had 10 goals, 6 assists for 6 points. And then around at the top 5 is Luke Phillip. After 25 games he has 8 goals, 7 assists for 15 points. Now when it comes to the goaltending, well, Justin Wolf, he's played in 17 games. He's still yet to lose in regulation. He has 14 wins, no losses, and then 2 overtime losses and no shootout losses. He has a 179 goals against average and a 941 save percentage. Those are definitely stud numbers for the Dustin Wolf, not bad for a guy that we drafted in the 7th round in 2019. And Adam Werner, the other goalie that we signed and free agent frenzy, aged 7 games, he has 4 wins, 2 losses, 1 overtime, and 1 shootout loss, with a 309 goals against average and 80 save percentage. And Andrew Shortridge had that one game where he allowed 4 goals. So definitely our prospects are looking good right now in the Stockton Heat. So now finally we'll get to the looking ahead part. I guess you could still say that looking ahead part a little loosely for both the Calgary Flames and the Stockton Heat. Well, the next game for the Calgary Flames as they continue on their 4-game road trip, it definitely gets a lot tougher, as on Tuesday, January the 4th, the Calgary Flames will be in Florida, and this time the first game will be against the Florida Panthers. That'll be at the FLA Live Arena, 5 p.m. puck drop. And then the next game, on Game 32, this will happen on Thursday, January 6th, the Calgary Flames will be taking on the dreaded Tampa Bay Lightning. That will be a 5 p.m. puck drop at the Amalie Arena. And then the Calgary Flames wrap up their 4-game road trip on Friday, January the 7th, as the Calgary Flames will be in Carolina to take on the Carolina Hurricanes. That'll be a 5 p.m. puck drop at the PNC Arena. So you got Florida, Tampa Bay, and Carolina in the next 3 games. Those are definitely going to be big measuring stick test games to see if the Calgary Flames are, in fact, one of the top teams in the league after still bouncing back from being shut down. So Game 34, as we know, will be on Thursday, January 13th. The Calgary Flames will be back at home as they'll be hosting the Ottawa Senators. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Stadium, unless the requirements change. As we know, it's still only 50% capacity, no concession sales as per the Alberta government, but that's why the NHL has been pushing off a lot of these Canadian games because of the restrictions. So that's why I still say looking ahead loosely. Then Game 35, this will be on Tuesday, January 18th. The Calgary Flames will be hosting the Florida Panthers. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Stadium. Then Game 36 on Saturday, January the 22nd. The Calgary Flames will be up the road in Edmonton to take on the Edmonton Oilers. That'll be an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Rogers Place. Then I already mentioned that the game on Thursday, January 11th, and the game on Saturday, January the 15th, where on the January 11th, the Calgary Flames were going to be hosting the New York Islanders, and then January 15th, the Calgary Flames will be hosting the Vegas Golden Knights. Those games have been postponed. So now if we look at the Stockton Heat, as we'll capture those games the next episode, their 27th game will be on Tuesday, January 4th. The Stockton Heat will be on the road against the Tucson Roadrunners. That'll be a 6:30 puck drop at the Tucson Convention Center Arena. And then on Wednesday, January 5th, the Stockton Heat will be taking on Tucson again. 6:30 puck drop at the same Tucson Convention Center Arena. And then on January 29th, the Stockton Heat will be in San Diego to take on the San Diego Gulls, which is the Anaheim Ducks farm team. That'll be an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Pechanga Arena. 8:30 will be on Sunday, January 9th. The Stockton Heat will still be on the road, taking on the Ontario Reign, and that's the Los Angeles Kings farm team. That'll be a 4 p.m. puck drop at the Toyota Arena. And then on Game 31, this will be on Wednesday, January 2nd, Stockton will still be on the road as they'll be taking on the Henderson Silver Knights, which is the Vegas Golden Knights farm team. This will be at the Orleans Arena, 8 p.m. puck drop. And then Game 32 on Friday, January 14th, the Stockton Heat will still be on the road as they'll be taking on the Bakersfield Condors. That'll be at the Mechanic Bank Arena, 8 p.m. puck drop, and that's the Edmonton Oilers farm team. Then Game 33 on Saturday, January 15th, the Stockton Heat will be back at home as they'll be taking on the Tucson Roadrunners, 8 p.m. puck drop at the Stockton Arena. Game 34 will be on Wednesday, January 19th, as the Stockton Heat will be at home against the San Diego Gulls. 7:30 p.m. puck drop at the Stockton Arena. And then Game 35 on Friday, January the 21st. The Stockton Heat will be at home against the Henderson Silver Knights. That'll be an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Stockton Arena. And then Game 36 on Saturday, January 22nd. The Stockton Heat will be at home again against the Henderson Silver Knights. That will be a 7 p.m. puck drop, so there'll be a lot of Stockton Heat, assuming no more games being postponed. And I'm going to say, definitely, we'll see if any of those games get played as scheduled now, which definitely the climate we're in right now. But yeah, this is finally my latest episode of my Calgary Flames in 6. There should have been 2 episodes in the same time frame if it wasn't for any games being postponed. And as we know, there won't be, we don't know when any of those games are going to get rescheduled yet. Both of the Calgary Flames and the Stockton Heat. If it's anything major, I'll make separate videos on that, which I have. So anyway, as I like to say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey, home to Flames, Hitman, Roughnecks, and Stampeders, I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, or recap games and stories. Finally, it's nice to actually recap games that actually happened. But I also do a variety of non-sports content like personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and I also do share my experience I'm on the road or a sport event. So if it all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, to follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey, you know what you need to do, just make sure you hit like and subscribe. I also have my other social links down in the description below. And of course I have my second channel in Brett Hornby Shorts, where I put my short form content on there. My YouTube shorts, for example, recapping Calgary Flames games. So I appreciate the like and subscribe both here on my main channel as well as my second channel. So I'm going to say go Flames go. We'll see if this this COVID layoff was good for the Calgary Flames, because they were in a funk going in, but so far they're looking good coming out. So we'll see if we're still looking like one of the top teams in the league in the next episode, whenever that's going to be. But it's going to be still a longer gap because of more games being postponed. But I guess there'll be a few more episodes in February once they figure out the scheduling. It's definitely going to be a mess, me doing these recaps and whoever's doing the schedule. So I just want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.